Welcome to another episode of Chicas and Chai. We're so happy you're here. Make sure to follow us on all our platforms. We're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as Chicas and Chai. Follow us on Instagram at Chicas and Chai Podcast.
Hola, chicas. Don't forget to give us a good rating if you're enjoying the episodes. So something that Luz and I have often been questioned about by a lot of people are how do we manage this friendship being in two different stages of life, right? So I'm a new mom. She is what we would call dual income, no kid, the new 30s.
I have my osito, which I will say he is my child. But yes, no human child. That changes a lot of societal dynamics and friendships as well. I talk to girlfriends that don't have children. We have these similar thoughts of wanting to live and experience our own personal lives and in a wholesome way before welcoming a child, which is such a huge commitment. So much love that comes with having a child. I can only imagine, but there's a lot there, right? I will start off by saying that it's normal to feel different in different stages of life as far as seeing if you want to have a child. Teenage old Luz had this vision that I would have a child when I was 22, 24 years old. Once I turned 20 years old, I was like, okay, maybe I'll have it like 25. And I kept pushing back. And that's so normal. But I will say that my views on that have changed sporadically over the last few years as I was able to really learn a lot about myself and be able to grow as me first.
So how do you think that the choice to remain child free has allowed you to maybe explore personal passions or interests of you and your husband?
You're able to make these selfish decisions for yourself that I think are very important. I'm 31 years old, so societal pressures tells you that you need to have a child. I remember when I wasn't engaged to my husband, it was like, when are you getting engaged? Once I got engaged, we took about 2 years to get married. When are you going to get married? When are you going to get married? You need to get married. And now we've been together for 10 years. We've been married for almost 3 years. So the voices are definitely stopping a little bit, but we did get that. And even last year, I got it from some friends' parents, just a random question like, hey, so what are the kids? She knows I didn't have kids, but it's just this constant pressure. And so I love being able to make these selfish decisions that really come out of self love. I want to be able to do these things as an individual first and as a couple with my husband, be able to take these trips and not have to think twice, well, for Osito. But other than that, like not having to think, okay, well, there's a lot going on right now with our child. You probably know, right? There's a lot you have to figure out before you even decide to do anything once you're a mom.
And even like emotional, right? With us, if we want to travel, there's been so many talks of my husband and I wanting to travel, go do things. And we just don't because we're like, wow, he really gets upset without us. He really needs both parents right now. So even leaving him with my parents seems unfair to do that to him. My husband and I, we got married during the pandemic. And a year later, I was pregnant. It does take away from being able to just kind of do those things on a fly or just make a plan and actually watch it come to fruition.
Right. And like you said, you feel bad leaving your child. And I feel like I would be like that. I just know that about myself.
Yeah.
I am going to drop everything and anyone if I need to. That is the type of mom that I would be. I am 100% confident. And he's crate trained. So we can be like, okay, we're going to go out for the day. Or it's okay to leave him with a sitter that we trust because we have definitely found people that we trust. But with you, like you said, it's different. I would feel so guilty leaving my child at home. But also, there's that thing where it's like, no, you need time by yourself or you need time with your husband. It's something that I conscientiously think about when I'm thinking, am I ready to take that step of not being selfish anymore? Because that's how parenthood in my mind should be is you are caring for yourself. And maybe this is a hot take, but you need to stop being selfish. You signed up to welcome a baby. This baby isn't an inconvenience. It's your responsibility. You brought this baby into this world. So this baby shouldn't blend into your life. You should be blending into the baby's life. That's the way I see it. I know that that's what I would be signing up for if or when I decide to have children.
Yeah. I mean, so I heard you talk about how your life is versus then motherhood. And I know you're going to be such a fierce mama bear if you choose to have kids. In what ways do you think that a woman can leave behind a legacy or make an impact in the world that doesn't involve motherhood? Because often, we say, what are you going to do when you get old? Like, what? We're putting this pressure that this child now has to take care of us when we're older.
You should not be having children so that they can take care of you when you're old. But back to the legacy question, I absolutely think that women are able to leave so much behind. And that is what bothers me, is that there is this pressure that you have not accomplished enough in life if you are not married or have children. And I think that's the issue with children coming out of these family dynamics, and they're traumatized because their parents decided to follow this timeline without actually thinking, hey, are we ready to have children? It baffles me that people can make such selfish decisions because it's not fair to the child. You can be successful. You can leave a legacy if you choose to not have children. It's not to say that no one thinks about this, but I do think that majority of parents have not thought this through and they continue to make these decisions. But it's this pressure of, okay, well, now that I'm married, I have to have a child. You can leave so much behind. We need to start creating this narrative about women that we are much more than just, hey, ready to have a baby? You are so much more than that. There is so much more that you can explore and do before you even think about those decisions. I think these decisions need to not be a day decision, a year decision. It should be something that you're contemplating because it's life changing, as you know.
How do you battle, right, this narrative? And I think it's from a old time and even cultural aspect where women were basically baby making machines. Like that was it. The woman's sole job was to get married and increase the population. Women have become so much more from that time period to now and shown that we're capable of so much more than that. When people ask you this question, like you said, where's the kids? And it's almost demeaning, right? So how do you battle those situations? And then how do you talk to yourself through those situations afterward? And how do you deal with it outwardly with the person in front of you?
I'm really used to those conversations now. It almost is weird when I'm not being asked by somebody that I feel like would ask me. If that makes sense, it feels like that kind of comes with the territory of being 31 years old, being with my partner for so long. I'm confident now in the fact that I know what I want to accomplish as an individual before I even think about or decide to have children. And this is a collective decision with my husband. But I will say, as women, our lives change significantly. And so you need to be selfish. You do need to think about you. Husbands' lives change significantly, but ours, yeah, I can only imagine. And I have imagined it. All I can do is I can just think about the things that will change. And so that reminds me that my timeline is different. And at the end of the day, I'm the one that's going to bring this child into the world, deal with whatever comes with it. So just being confident and being like, okay, this is our timeline because this is what we're able to provide or give. And this is our bandwidth at the moment.
Yeah, I've actually been there when someone asked you that question. When are you going to have kids? So someone from my family. So I was like, why? Why did you ask that question? But I saw how you were just kind of like, right now, maybe in a few years, whenever I feel ready. But it's such a normal thing, right? Even though they weren't coming from a malicious place at all, it was more of like, I'm excited to watch Summer and Luce's kids play together one day. But they don't realize that question is so fully loaded and almost inappropriate. But we're so sensitized to this that it's just one of those things where people don't think twice. And that's why even now we're in this era where people are oftentimes just choosing not to have kids. It's not even that they're waiting. They just don't want to do it. People find happiness in other things than children. And that is like obviously to each their own. And I feel like that's something that, especially with conversations that I've had with you, you've helped me become more mindful. Like women always have this want to have kids. It's just built into us, right?
Exactly. That is the That is the whole point of this conversation, I think, right? Is the assumption that that's part of the timeline that you do want to have kids. So just tell me when. No, that's not necessarily true. I remember who asked me in front of you, and I don't think it was malicious, but you don't know what someone is going through. Maybe someone has tried for years and hasn't been able to, and you're kind of reminding them that they haven't been able to, and you don't know what's going on in someone's life. When it comes to kids also, you have to think about all the things that you're going to give up, and giving up sounds harsh. It's like, okay, well, you're going to have a baby, so be thankful. But, the reality is that you're going to give things up. For me, it's giving up my career, everything I've worked for. I think I would just naturally sign up to spend more time with my child. I would want to prioritize
Yeah.
my child. And that's not to say my husband wouldn't. It's just, I think I'd have that in me to be able to. And so one of us would be the one that's going at their career. So just knowing that that is going to happen, it's hard. It's hard to give something up that you worked so hard for, and know that who knows if you'll ever get to that point of ambition that you once had before the child. You are unsure of how your career will look like and the hit that it will take from taking so much time off.
The world expects so much from women. They want us to be super women. And then they come spend a day in my life and they're like, oh, you have so much going on. How are you doing this? And I'm like, think about that next time you ask me why I haven't progressed in the past 3 years in my career. And I'm choosing to prioritize my son first. And I understand what comes with that. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt me to know that everything that I have worked for is sitting on the line. And now my husband is just climbing ladders. I'm very proud of him. But I completely agree with you. I mean, it really does change when we choose to have babies or we discuss with our partners. It changes immediately because dealing with all of that is the woman. Pregnancy starts with the woman. And I feel like a lot of people are even hesitant. Pregnancy is scary.
And I'll add that just because you signed up for this doesn't make it easy. I think I want
Yeah.
to emphasize that. And I think I mentioned you sign up for this, it's your responsibility. Yes. But I think the issue is that I do think that there is a big difference between being the mom and being the dad. And so the things that I think would be expected of me from society or just ingrained in our cultures and in really everyday life is, what is the expectation as a woman? It's that she's going to be the one that maybe gets up more, the one that's going to be the default parent. There's this pressure that you are the go-to parent, you are the default parent, you're the parent that picks up the baby, you're the parent that takes time off, you're the parent that literally stops their career. You are that parent. And so I think that for me, having Osito, it's helped us being able to balance those roles. You need to work on these things before you decide to have such a big change come into your life. I've been contemplating having a child for over 10 years now, as far as thinking of how life would look, what I've seen in societal gender norms and roles. And so I think when you have a child, you want to make sure that you're able to have those things figured out. I think people think that having a child actually fixes problems. And I don't think it will. I'm conscientious of that. I think that when you are in the thick of it, when you are just running around trying to survive and wake up to help this baby at midnight when they're crying, that sounds really hard to me. And you can tell me how that is, but I feel like that sounds brutal and it does not sound like things get easier.
No, I heard you touch on gender roles, and I want to pivot back to that because I think it was such an important point. So, I guess, how has your perspective then on womanhood changed as you've grown and experienced different stages of life? How does gender role play into that? And not even about like just having a baby, even in marriage or other aspects of your life that you are exploring now because you don't have children and you're focusing on that part of your life.
Just because he's a man doesn't mean he's going to fix the car. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I'm going to do the dishes. And so we apply these things in our everyday lives and we hope to apply it for when that time comes if we have a baby. That's where I've grown. I've grown in ways that I also have to look at myself and think to myself, hey, are you being biased right now? Are you thinking that this falls on him because of X, Y, and Z? And I also do a good job at holding my husband accountable if things do happen that I'm like, hey, that, nope, nope, let's make it fair. You have to be your biggest advocate because if you feel like things aren't fair or like, hey, I'm not the default person for this, because being the default person, it doesn't just apply to motherhood, it applies to being at home with your partner and you think that things just fall on you because you're a woman. And I think it does all lead to being a woman. We put so much pressure on ourselves to handle it all. And one of them is being a mom and doing it all. So I've evolved in that in the way that I'm such a big advocate for myself. And you need to choose someone that's also an advocate for you, someone that thinks alike. And I'm really happy that I have someone like that. It is different. They didn't grow up with these things. And so they don't know. Do we wish they knew? Yes, but they don't.
It's really interesting because I heard you touch on the fact that you have to pick the right partner and be aligned with all of that. So, don't you think actually that society should be teaching us to spend more time in our marriages before choosing to have a kid? I mean, we obviously pick our husbands knowing they're going to be amazing husbands and hope that they're good fathers. But when you're dating and you're engaged, and then you spend a year or two or three being married, things change a lot after that first year of marriage, I think. So, are you grateful that you're spending more time and that you're more sure?
Absolutely. I think that this time of my life with my husband, we've been able to know, not just know each other, but grow together, pivot together if we were to have children. This is so important. I do think that this needs to be normalized more. Like spend more time with your partner, even after marriage. And the thing is, you're pressured right now, right? You're pressured in life about, okay, well, these are the steps, but 100% spend time. I think that will really make such a big difference as to how your life will look later. However, there's this biological clock, right? After 35, like, is everything going to be okay? What if I wait too long? I would love to take my time and more time because I mean, it's never enough time to be able to spend with your partner. You're never going to get these days back of being young and not having children.
Yeah, simple little things like date night. You miss those. If my husband and I want to plan a date night, it involves planning 2 weeks in advance, finding a nanny, making sure the hours are within a reasonable time. We can't go do late night stuff. We should probably be back home by like 9 or 10. But you said something about the biological clock. And so I guess it led me to think, I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this actually. What led you to the decision to wait or hold off on having children? And how did you arrive at that conclusion? Because you are from a culture that emphasizes having children, I think, like in India and Pakistan. And you have siblings that have married, have kids.
We collectively came to that decision because we realized how beneficial it was for us to date for so long before getting married. And I think that's the key a little bit, just waiting, just spending time with each other. I loved that we dated for so long. Then we were able to make a really just thought out decision on getting married. And I think that that should apply to having children too. Working on things you have to work on. I think for me, one of the big, big things that I wanted to work on was being able to go to therapy and heal myself, do the things that I need to do to be prepared to have a child. And anyone listening to this, I hope that that's what you get from this is that it's okay to take your time and it's okay to want to have a child immediately. But I hope that you're able to heal yourself because, in my mind, in order to be able to bring and create a healthy family dynamic, it's being able to start at the very beginning. And the very beginning is yourself and your partner. And so if you're just going into this without fixing that, healing that, I just don't know how successful or healthy that will end up turning out to be.
I think there's so much healing work that needs to be done at every stage of your life. But if I could advocate for one time period that a woman should go to therapy is, or a man even, it's right before you choose to have children or when you have children, because generational trauma is just something that our future generation should not have to carry. They're going to have a damaged inner child, which then impacts their future life. Why do we wait for therapy to be a band-aid to the problem? I mean, it should really be a preventative measure, right?
Absolutely. That's what I wanted to work on, mental health and making sure that I was in a good place, along with so many other things. I got to the point in my career where it makes me happy in case I don't come back to my career, making sure that I'm at a place where I'm fulfilled in that way and I know that I made it happen. Personal goals, wanting to travel, wanting to spend time with myself and being able to just be like, hey, I'm going to go to a coffee shop on a solo date. Getting to know myself, I think, has been my favorite thing. I studied abroad in Spain, and I think that was such a moment for me. I went by myself when I was like 21 years old. I didn't know my husband then, and I was single. And so that I think was the start of this journey for me, and knowing that my journey looks different and knowing how much there is out there, the freedom that there is. And then that changes when you get engaged, and it changes when you get married. And right now I'm enjoying my freedom as a married woman. And so I am looking forward to hopefully one day, but right now I'm enjoying this chapter in my life of being free and not having to have so many responsibilities when it comes to children.
So I have a question for you, which I think is actually a bit of a controversial topic because it's something that I've heard a lot of people say, people that even maybe choose never to have children. They say, oh, because I could never give up my freedom. And I'm hearing you kind of say the same narrative. Do you think that having a baby then means that you're giving up your complete freedom?
Yes, you are giving up your freedom, at least temporarily. You are.
Yeah.
How about this? In my mind, if you are doing it right, you are giving up your freedom.
Hmm.
Now, if you're doing it wrong, it's fine. Nothing changes. But that's what I'm here to tell you. There's aspects. It doesn't mean you're giving everything up, but you are. You are tied to this little baby schedule as it should be. That little being is your priority. Now, as they grow up, things change. I do think that there is a level of attachment that never goes away if you're doing it right. And this is just my opinion. Okay, everyone, this is my opinion. Don't come at me. But I do think that the level of freedom that you used to have, it goes away. Now, I want you to tell me what you think.
I agree. I think that there definitely is the aspect of freedom being gone. I think that there are a lot of people that sometimes maybe they have a whole village and they can continue. Obviously, you can never continue your life the same. But I think that to a degree, a lot of people end up maybe having the ability to go do things that they once used to do. And so they have that freedom. I still feel free, but it took me time to get here. And of course, I'm not free in the way that you are free. You can get up and go to a happy hour if you feel like it right now after this episode, but I can't. I got to go pick up my son from school. So it's different. So I agree that there is that. If you have this freedom right now, what are your hopes and dreams for the future? Like, how does that freedom align with your identity as a woman and maybe things that you're doing in your work front, personal career, or podcasts just in general?
Want to be able to be the best version of myself using everything I've done, being independent, having this career, having the podcast where we're able to empower each other as women and use that to carry on, expand my family, use everything I've learned to create a beautiful human being. I am looking forward to that hopefully one day. And so I'm not here to tell you 100% that's the plan, but that's how I would envision everything I've done with the freedom I have, being able to really do that and kind of get everything out of my system so that when I get to that point, I'm like, I'm ready. That's kind of what we did with our marriages, right? If you think about it, you and I, we got everything out of our system. We dated, we went out, we hung out with each other. There's so many things that you do. And then once you hit that point, and I'm really glad I did that because
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm so happy in my marriage. And I want to be able to feel like that when a baby comes, being able to be like, I did that. I did that by myself with my husband. I'm good. This is what I wanted. And now I'm ready to not be ready because I think that you're never ready to have a child. Just, I want to get to the point where I'm ready for the lack of freedom. I'm ready for lots of love from an expanded family, a bigger family.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people that get married early and have babies early, and then they spend their whole 20s or so raising this baby. And then in their 30s or 40s, they want to start acting like they were 20. Like they just want to party. They want to go do these things. At that point, your kid is 10, 15. They're watching you, and it just becomes a toxic cycle. So it is important to, I think, hold off and wait till you're ready and do what works for your life. Everyone's life and situation and plan is so different.
So I really just appreciate the space of being able to talk about this. It's something that I'm really passionate about because I do think that children deserve to have healthy parents. And that's what I hope for my future child or children is that I am healed, that I am in a place where I'm ready. I do want to really commend those that choose to not have children because I think that is a very selfless act. If you know you don't want to be a parent, if you know you wouldn't be a good parent, if you want to have freedom for the rest of your life, I love that for you. I'm here for it. There was a point in my life where I was at that point, and I think that's how it should be. Think about why you want children, think about how it would look like, think about it for years. At least that's what I've been doing. And anyway, I really look forward to continuing these conversations, everyone. Please let us know always what you think about these topics. Leave comments. Let us know if you agree. Let us know even if you disagree. Don't forget to give us some love. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our channel on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other platform you listen to podcasts on. As Chicas and Chai, follow us for more content on Instagram at Chicas and Chai Podcasts.